Hey guys, how's it going, dude? I'm back with another video. In today's video, I want to talk about the staircase case, Michael Peterson and his murder case. However, I want to focus more on the theories, but of course I will briefly go over in chronological order the case that spanned like 35 years, really, if you take into consideration what happened in Germany in 1985. The reason I'm doing this now is, obviously I've watched the documentary. I think I watched the documentary twice, but I have recently finished the staircase dramatisation with Colin Firth and Tony Collette, which I thought was absolutely incredible. And if you have access to like Sky box sets, I guess, and HBO Max, I highly recommend that you go and watch this dramatization because it is fascinating, especially if you have watched the documentary first. So if you don't know anything about this case, obviously I'm going to inform you in a second, but go watch the documentary and go and watch this staircase dramatization because it is incredible. Before we jump into the video though, I just want to give a shout out to my patron of the day, Hannah Foxall. Hannah, thank you so much for being a patron. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate all of my patrons over on Patreon, where I do bonus content and behind the scenes and all that good stuff, and you can become a patron for as little as just £1. The link for that is down below. Okay, so the staircase case. Like I said, I watched the dramatisation. I literally finished it this morning, and so I was like, you know what? There's a few theories as to what happened, and I want to delve into those theories, give my thoughts, and then at the end, give my thoughts as to whether this man is guilty or innocent. Let's begin chronologically with what happened. November 25th, 1985, Elizabeth Ratliff is found dead at the bottom of her stairs in her home in Germany. She was found in the morning, laying at the bottom of the stairs, blood apparently everywhere. Now, when this happened, it was actually ruled as natural causes because she had pre-existing blood disorder known as von Willebrand's disease. So the coroner basically said this pre-existing blood disorder caused her to hemorrhage and collapse at the top of the stairs, fall down and die. Interestingly, at this time in Germany, Ratliff was friends with Michael Peterson. He was 45 years of age at the time, an American author. Now, interestingly, Peterson was also the last person to see her alive, but was never treated as a suspect at the time. After the death, Peterson adopted her two daughters to raise as his own. They joined his existing family with his wife Patricia and their two sons, Todd and Clayton. Patricia and Peterson would get divorced, and Peterson would move back to America with his family, and he married Kathleen Atwater. Now, Kathleen is at the heart and is the victim of this staircase case. On the outside looking in, they had an amazing marriage, they had an amazing life, but under the surface, things were going wrong, especially financially, very, very quickly. And on December 9th, 2001, Kathleen was found dead at the bottom of her staircase at home that she shared with Peterson. Okay, so you've got two women in the space of 16 years that have died at the bottom of a staircase. Little bit suspect. In a very heartbreaking phone call to police, you hear Peterson ring them, and during the phone call, you know, he's explaining that she's fallen down the stairs. She was drunk. She was probably high on Valium because she was taking Valium at the time, and she's fallen down the stairs and she's hit her head, and there's so much blood, and he doesn't know what to do, and eventually Kathleen succumbs to her injuries and she dies. Now, interestingly, a medical examiner, and this is in the show, a medical examiner examines the body and thinks, you know what, this is an accident. But then a member of law enforcement comes along, and I mean, this is in the show, I can't remember if it's in the documentary, but essentially says, no, think about it, this was a murder. And so then during a post-mortem examination, the coroner concluded that Kathleen had died from her injuries that were consistent with blunt force trauma, i.e. they were at the top of the stairs, Peterson has struck her with something blunt several times. She's fallen down the stairs and ended up deceased at the bottom of the stairs. So Michael Peterson is arrested on suspicion of murdering his wife Kathleen, something that to this day he has persisted he is innocent of. February of 2002, a documentary team headed up by director French filmmaker Jean-Xavier Delestre begins creating a step-by-step, every moment documentary. He is with Peterson, he is with the family, he is with the defense attorneys, and he is filming this from their perspective, which would eventually go on French network Canal Plus TV, and then Netflix bought it up, which years and years and years later, Netflix would order 3 more episodes, which will be released in 2018, which is when I believe, or this is when I saw it, the documentary really popped off, because it was so interesting, because you had this documentary starts in 2001 and ends in like 2018. You know, it's like, whoa, that this is a documentary spanning 2 decades. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. The family stays strong for Michael, apart from Kathleen's sisters and Kathleen's biological daughter, who breaks away from, you know, her stepfather and a step brothers and sisters to join with, you know, her biological family against Michael Peterson. And apparently, I didn't realise this, I don't know if I missed it in the documentary, I'm sure it wasn't in the show, but apparently Kathleen's daughter, Caitlin, was actually awarded $25 million for a wrongful death lawsuit that she filed against Michael Peterson, which is interesting. Now, in June of 2003, the fact that there's 2 bodies at the bottom of stairs, albeit 16 years apart, German authorities decide they're going to dig up Elizabeth Ratliff and re-examine her body. And upon re-examining her body, they actually find blunt force trauma to her head and decide that actually this could have been a homicide. So all of a sudden, it looks like, well, did Michael kill both these women in the exact same manner? The following month in July, the trial begins, and the prosecution are throwing around the idea of this blowpoke being used, but they can't find the blowpoke anywhere. And then eventually the blowpoke turns up in the garage, all full of dust and stuff, showing that it probably wasn't that was used, because, well, it looked like it had been there for years, unused, covered in cobwebs and stuff. During the trial, it comes out that Michael Peterson is a bisexual man, and that he went to male escorts and had lots of extramarital sex with men. However, he claims that his wife knew about this and accepted this about him. October 10th, 2003, the jury take their time and decide that Michael Peterson is guilty of murdering Kathleen, and he is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. 8 years is how long Michael was in prison for, until September 14th of 2011, when a retrial happens, because someone that was involved, a key witness for the prosecution, Dwayne Deaver, was proved to have a track record of lying about blood spatter analysis many times about the work he did on the case. He said like he's done 200 cases, and you know, he's done experiments on blood like 50 times. It turned out he'd done like 30 cases and he'd only experimented on blood like 3 times. So it's clear that this man was a liar, so that threw out the entire trial. So Peterson was then able to have a retrial, and he was granted with $300,000 of bail home house arrest under ankle monitor, and he spent the next 6 years under house arrest with an ankle monitor with a curfew of 10 p.m. waiting for his retrial. The retrial that never came, because on February 24th of 2017, Peterson entered an Alfred Plea. Now, this Alfred Plea basically turns a murder charge to manslaughter, and it's very interesting because what it does is you plead guilty to manslaughter, but you are able to maintain the fact that you are innocent, and you are only pleading guilty because he spent so long in prison that pleading guilty to manslaughter, the sentence is less than what is already served, so he will be freed based on time served. So basically what he's saying is, I didn't do this, but I'm pleading guilty to this because I don't want to go to trial and potentially lose. However, I'll be given time served, so I get to go free. And that is what happened, right? So he enters an Alfred Plea, and he is a free man after this. That is the chronological order of what happened, right? That's the gist. There's so much more detail to this, which I highly recommend the documentary and I highly recommend the dramatization show. Okay, the theories. We're going to go into 4 theories and then I'm going to give you my thoughts. The first theory is it was Michael. Okay, so interestingly, when Michael is deciding whether he's going to enter the Alfred Plea or not, he asks Jean, the documentary maker, to come in and film, just him and Jean, right? And he confesses that he lied about something in the trial. He lied about something about Kathleen. And that lie was that Kathleen did not know about the fact that he was bisexual and was cheating on her with other men. And in the show, it shows that that night, Kathleen received a call from work that basically a presentation was going to be sent over to her and could she review it because it's really important. And Kathleen left her laptop at work. So she asked Michael if she could have her work sent to his email. And it's the emails where he was communicating with these men. So the thought is, Kathleen, after a load of wine and some Valium, goes up to Michael's computer and discovers all of these emails from these men. They get into a fight, and in a rage, Michael picks up a blowpoke and batters Kathleen's skull in at the top of the stairs. She then falls down the stairs. Michael realises, oh my God, what have I done? And he then calls the police. So that is theory number 1, that Michael is a guilty man and that is what happened. Theory number 2, Kathleen really did fall down the stairs. So the theory is, and this was the defense's theory all along, was that basically she was a bit drunk, she slips, hits her head on the corner of the stairs, tries to correct herself by getting up, falls again, hits her head again, which causes, all these lacerations to her skull because, there's all corners of the wood and stuff. And one of the blood spatter analysts said that, the blood spatter is actually, it kind of matches the idea of coughing and and then coughing up the walls with the blood. And the thought is, she's there struggling and she's coughing all this blood everywhere and there's just blood all over the place. And it was a complete accident. So that is theory number 2. Theory number 3 is that there was a secret intruder, that someone came in to the house to rob them and killed Kathleen. And Michael was outside laying by the pool at this time. And so basically Michael never saw the intruder and Kathleen was murdered for a burglary gone wrong or something like that. And the 4th theory, the craziest theory and yet the theory that actually holds a lot of weight, is the owl theory. And this was pushed around a lot. Their neighbour, who was like a law attorney, I think, he actually pushed this really hard in 2007. He was very keen on birds and stuff, and he saw similarities between the lacerations on the back of her head and the owl talons. Owls are really prevalent in North Carolina. Apparently it was mating season, which owls were a lot more aggressive. There was evidence that there was a lot of owl attacks at that time. Owls tend to hunt from behind, which would explain how it attacked the back of her head. There was a feather found at the crime scene, and they even did DNA of, I think, the hair strands found in her hand that had microscopic feathers in the hair. So maybe she was like trying to get the owl off and ripped her own hair out and that had feathers in it and stuff like that. But why was she outside? The neighbour noticed in photographs, like one before and one after, that basically there were these Christmas reindeer, because this was right near Christmas, that were outside in the lawn. And basically it's thought that when Kathleen went indoors from her night spent drinking with Michael, she saw the Christmas decorations and thought, I'm just going to quickly put them outside. Puts them outside in the front garden, and it's shown in the show, this theory, that the owl then attacks and launches on her. And it's like cut her up and stuff, and she's all dazed. She goes back into the house, which is why there's a few drops of blood. I think it was either between the house and the door or the door and the stairs, and there's blood on the door. And she's all dazed and stuff, and then she slips on the stairs, bangs her head, and then that's why all the blood's everywhere, and then she bleeds out. So that's the owl theory, which, to be fair, I think holds a lot of weight, especially when they had, they looked at the evidence and found the fragments of feathers in her hair that was found in her hand, which would be like, well, she's pulled it out. And I'm really torn. I'm torn between 2. I'm torn between two. The owl theory, funnily enough, and Michael doing it. Now, the reason why I think Michael may have done it is, in the show, the documentary makers, or I think the documentary maker Sean actually is like executive producer on the dramatization. At the end of the show, they have Michael smirk. Ever so, for a brief moment, they have Michael smirk, and I think, obviously it gets you asking, like, shit, did he do this? Has he gotten away with this? Why? That's a strange decision to make, unless they wanted to seem unbiased, right? In the show, they have a moment where the documentary maker, which again is produced by the documentary maker, so you'd think he would have this input. They have, the editor and the documentary maker have this moment, and they're like, he couldn't have done it, could he? Like, surely he didn't do it. This is after everything. This is after the Alfred Plea. And the documentary maker who spent hundreds of hours with this man, the editor who fell in love with this man, who wrote letters to this man, that's a whole other thing. Watch the show for it. These two individuals spent so much time, years, with this man. They still don't know if he did it or not. I feel like, and this could be naive, I feel like you know if someone murdered someone or not. You know, oh, he definitely didn't do it. But if you're like, I don't know if he did, does that lean more towards, well, then he probably did? And that could be completely wrong. And this man could be completely innocent. I almost hope he's guilty, because if he's innocent, this man has had over a decade, 15, 16, 20 years of his life stolen. If a fucking owl killed his wife, if an owl killed this man's wife, he has had 20 years of his life and his whole life destroyed because of an owl. So I almost want him to be guilty. But it's just too many questions around it. And why did he lie about her knowing till the very end, till after till when the Alfred Plea was coming in? He lied till that point that she knew, but she didn't, which is a massive factor. If she just found that out and they're both drunk, man, if I had to, and this is, I'm not saying it, you know, I'm not saying this is fact at all, but if I had to put everything I had, whether it was an owl, which I do think is a strong possibility, or if I think it was Michael, I think it was Michael. Not saying I'm right, but that's my thought. What do you guys think? I would love to know. Please let me know. And do you know any other theories? Let me know down below. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I thoroughly enjoyed the documentary. My heart goes out to Kathleen and her family and all the damage that this has done, whoever was involved or wasn't. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. It's a little bit of a different approach to a true crime case, more theory-based. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much. Join the Patreon. I'll see you very soon. 3-1. Geese.